think there's an inherent interest for all humans in psychology because I was so fascinated, and also by some really important, profound cultural differences.
And why is it that we feel more vulnerable instead of feeling more protected about ourselves?
And I think one thing that has really affected people with social media is the accessibility of information. People are increasingly lonely, and kids are increasingly depressed and anxious. The ultimate goal is for us to know ourselves so deeply.
In a world where love, validation, and even self-worth are filtered through screens, it's no surprise that our relationships are ever so evolving and not always for the better. A recent publication in the Journal of Social Sciences revealed that social media addiction significantly distorts marital role expectations, making partners compare their relationships to unrealistic online portrayals. In short, what we scroll is reshaping what we expect from love. At the same time, a fascinating study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships unpacked several red flags in romantic relationships, finding that behaviors like avoidance, criticism, and emotional withdrawal are early predictors of long-term dissatisfaction. But many people miss these signs thinking they're just part of a normal relationship. And beyond love, culture plays its part too. Research published in Frontiers in Psychology found that our emotions and behaviors adapt to cultural expectations, proving that we are often perform feelings to fit in, even when they don't align with our true inner selves. Together, these studies paint a striking picture. In an age of digital connection, many of us are still struggling with the most human challenge of all, being honest with ourselves and with each other. So today's episode isn't just about understanding relationship. It's about asking the hard questions. How is it social media is reshaping the way we love and we connect? And our expectations of the perfect love becoming our biggest source of pain. And most importantly, can we unlearn these illusions we built about ourselves and others? Welcome to another thought-provoking episode of Khan Klinics. I'm your host, Dr. Khan. Today, we are with one of the most insightful minds in psychology, a thinker who has spent her life decoding the hidden layers of human behavior, emotions, and connections. Dr. Cortney Warren. Before the age of 20, Dr. Warren had lived in Australia, Argentina, and traveled throughout Central America. Dr. Warren, we are honored to have you in our show today. Welcome.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Let's ask the first question then. What inspired you to take this route? Dedicate your career to understanding self-deception and the human mind?
I think there's an inherent interest for all humans in psychology because it's really the study of ourselves. It's the study of who you are, what gives you meaning, what makes for a valuable life and a valuable experience. So I think I was always really interested in psychology. My parents are both professors. My mother was a feminist philosopher, and my father's a Scandinavian economist. So I was very well versed in higher order conversations about philosophical constructs that directly influence human development and human happiness and human experience. But traveling the world from a young age really solidified my academic interest in psychology because I was so fascinated both by how similar people are, no matter where you go, and also by some really important, profound cultural differences that I experienced by being there, but also by just observing the world around me as I traveled. And so I went into undergrad as a psych major.
Excellent, excellent. So it's a combination of things. You had early exposure to good conversations. You were thoughtful, mindful, and then on top of that, you had the opportunity to travel and
Mm-hmm.
experience different cultures. So having that insight and background, tell us, how do you think the social media has evolved the thinking of the newer Gen Z generations? And why is it that we feel more vulnerable instead of feeling more protected about ourselves?
Culture is so centrally important to all of us. We're all cultural beings. We grow up in a context that has certain values, certain norms, certain ways of living. And I think one thing that has really affected people with social media is the accessibility of information in such an easy, quick
Mhm.
format
Mhm.
that gives cultural information, but in a way that's really unprecedented in history, where particularly young people or adolescents are getting on a phone or getting online and they are bombarded by messages about how they should be, what's normal, what they should look like, who they should date, what they should eat. And it's not necessarily a conscious process where they're thinking, do I agree with this? Am I critically thinking about this? It's much more of an absorption of information. It's an internalization that this is normal. This is what matters in life. This is what it means for me to become a valuable human. And in that way, I think access to social media not only promotes certain messages that many of us have a problem with as parents, as adults, as leaders, but it also normalizes the information and actually makes them more addicted, I'll use that term, to going back to get that material while simultaneously lacking in actual meaningful contact with humans in their daily lives that are offline. And so that combination can be really dangerous because, as you probably know, people are increasingly lonely and kids are increasingly depressed and anxious.
Excellent. Thank you for explaining that. We have social media that is giving us or bombarding us with information. We're not probably handling it. And then you mentioned we keep on going back to the same addictive formulas of trying to entrench that in our lives. So if I ask Dr. Warren, I want to learn about myself first. I want to know about me. I want to know about myself. How and where do I start? And what are the steps that I need to take? First, learn about myself so I can solidify myself before being affected by this information around me, which is obviously very catastrophic.
I mean, what a wonderful opportunity and what a wonderful question that I hope anyone listening embraces. Because really, the first step is to make that choice and to say, I'm actually on this planet to have a deeper understanding and awareness of myself first. And if you
Sure.
go into every interaction with that fundamental value and belief,
Mhm.
now you are in the journey of self-awareness. So the first step is really to become aware of yourself. What do you think? How do you feel? What situations are you uncomfortable in? Where are your insecurities? What did you learn as a child that you are now bringing into your adult relationships that you may not be conscious of, but they're there? And as you start that curiosity spark in you, now you have a platform for unpacking it. So asking yourself the questions, I usually recommend that people start where they're most emotionally reactive.
Mhm.
Because when you have a strong emotional reaction to something in your life, it oftentimes is targeting or pinpointing an area that's really uncomfortable for you. And one thing that's very true about self-deception or our tendency not to tell ourselves the truth is that we are very likely to do it where we're most insecure. So if you can notice that emotional flare, like you're in an argument with your spouse and you feel this jolt, or you're parenting your kid and you're just noticeably snappy about something, it's very likely that it's not just the current situation that you're reacting to, it's actually saying something about you. That if you can pause long enough to say, I'm having a reaction to this, what does that say about me? What can I learn looking at myself in the mirror in this situation that will actually lead me to an aha moment where I say, oh my gosh, I see it. I'm reacting to this because I feel guilty about something, or I'm insecure about my child misbehaving in school because it makes me look bad. And that's an issue for me. Or I am worried that my partner doesn't love me enough. And actually, that's a familiar feeling because I wasn't sure that my father loved me enough. And that's something that only I can heal. And I think actually that's really the goal. The ultimate goal is for us to know ourselves so deeply that someone could say something horribly cutting about you. And your response could be, wow, thank you for sharing your perspective with me. I really need to think about that. And it doesn't hurt you.
So I get that. I get it. Thank you for explaining that. I get it that we need to continuously grow,
Mm-hmm.
continuously evaluate ourselves. You said, well, if you're reacting to an emotion, then you got to analyze that. But let me go back a step and ask you, where do we start from? What a remarkable journey we've just experienced together. The path to health isn't always straight, but it's always worth the effort. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your wellness journey, armed with new knowledge and a fresh perspective. If today's episode left you inspired, share it with people, someone who need to hear this. Give us a thumbs up and your opinion. Keep exploring, keep evolving, and we'll see you in the next episode of Khan Clinics.